If you love the thrill of racing but hate the risks, then buckle up. Everything Simulated is here to merge adrenaline with absolute safety. In a world where technology meets adrenaline, Everything Simulated is revolutionizing driver training with state-of-the-art simulators. From truck training to the thrill of motorsports, our simulators offer the most realistic experiences across all automotive applications. Gone are the days of endless bookwork and basic drills. Now it's all about hands-on, pulse-pounding action that prepares you for the real deal. Whether you're maneuvering a heavy mining vehicle or racing a high-speed car, our simulators, equipped with cutting-edge technology from leaders like SimRigs and TrackRacer, bring every nuance of the drive to life. And talk about making a mark. We're not just building simulators, we're fostering talent. From grassroots motorsports to professional series like the Aussie Outlaw GT3, sponsored by us, Everything Simulated is fueling dreams and careers. Ready to feel the excitement of the racetrack under your fingertips? Connect with us, and let's build your next simulator adventure together. Remember, we support those who support us. Join the Everything Simulated family, and let's race towards the future.
Hello everybody and welcome to Bathurst for the latest round of the Everything Simulated F4 Championship, sponsored and supported by Player One Sim Gear as well. We're over the halfway part of our season now, and that means 2 feature races to go, 2 sprint rounds to go as well, from 2 Australian circuits, 2 Japanese circuits. It's a nice bit of symmetry for our final 4 rounds of our championship. And of course, Benjamin Roberts so far has been dominating. We'll see whether that continues here tonight with myself, Ewan O'Leary, and Jared Cole again as always. Good to be back alongside you for this one, Jared, as we were talking about just before we came to air. This is a really popular circuit, not only with Australians actually, but around the world. Obviously mostly from the AusNZ region here, and it maybe has bumped the attendance up just a little bit tonight as people are excited to come drive Mount Panorama again.
Absolutely right, Ewan. Great to be back again this week. Bathurst is one of those magical tracks. There's just a certain, I don't know what to call it exactly. There's an aura around the place, right? There's absolute legends that have been born here in so many forms of racing. But really keen to see how the F4s go around here tonight. It's a touring car track by nature, and to really drive that point home, I was having a look before we came on the air tonight just to get a bit of comparison. Obviously, we were at Yokohama last week, and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna have a look at some lap times and compare them to your classic Aussie Tourers, the Gen 3 supercars, of course. Last week, the F4s were around about 6 seconds quicker than a Gen 3 supercar to get around the Yokohama track. Here at Bathurst, they are doing pretty well the same times as a Gen 3 supercar, which really tells you just how hard it is to get an open wheel, very stiff racing car around this circuit. The lower half of the track, you know, it's a standard circuit in terms of surface, but once you get up onto the mountain, that all changes. The camber, the drop-offs on these corners, the very rough surface makes for a very challenging drive for anyone in any form of open wheeler, and tonight is absolutely going to put the drivers to the test.
And also shows the differences in the 2 kind of circuits, the 2 kind of cars. That this circuit, of course, having those long straights, which I think are going to provide the racing for us here today. But for those supercars, it just provides some much higher top speeds than what you get in an F4 championship. Let's have a look at the championship standings so far coming into this round, and we'll see that Benjamin Roberts is leading the way by some margin now. After last week, it's even larger actually between Benjamin Benjamin Roberts and Oisin Colangelo, who's currently in second place. Kane Ryder is then 131 points back in third. Thomas Hinds, 181 back. Then Daniel Byrne rounds up top 5, 225 back. Alexi Watson is the silver class leader. He's leading that class by 50 points as well, so both gold and silver being led by the same amount of points. Tristan McLaren is 50 points behind in second place. As you can see here, 15th place for McLaren overall gives him second in the silver class. Todd Parks is then a further 11 points back, and then Mitchell Hapway, David Besnard round out the top 5, but they haven't even scored 100 points yet in the championship standings. It's so telling, I think, that Roberts and Colangelo are dropping scores from round 2, both from Motegi, on a day where they finished 1 and 2, the pair of them. That's what a season they've had so far, and that's making it very, very difficult to catch Benjamin Roberts into this final part of the season as well. If he's dropping scores like that, it's going to be impossible to gain any points on him.
Yeah, absolutely right. He's had a cracker of a season. And as you say, to be dropping a round where you took away pretty much the most points you can possibly hope for, it gives you an idea of just how consistently he's been up the top end. It's going to be a tricky one to reel him in for Oisin Colangelo. We've seen that it's not impossible, but it is going to be a hell of a lot of work. It really is.
And that'll have to start tonight. And we'll have to start with Benjamin Roberts getting a bad result somewhere, which is not really in everybody else's control, as we know. So just about 9 minutes to go in qualifying, and the drivers are pretty much all out there without exception. Scott Bartine is in the pit lane, so is Mark Heppel and William Fraser. But other than that, everybody out there on the circuit together. I must admit, I expected to see a little bit of teamwork going on here today. A little bit of draft being given maybe to one or two drivers, but not too much of that going on for the moment. Benjamin Roberts with a couple of purple sectors to start his latest lap time, but didn't really have any help there on the way down the Conrad Straight and going to the final corner. See whether this is going to be pole, and it'll be another 2:06, which Oisin Colangelo has also managed. Not quite, it's not going to be, but it will move him into the top 5 if it counts. Oh no, it doesn't, so I've miscalculated that, and he stays in 7th place. But so far, this is exactly where they need him. They need Benjamin Roberts to qualify a little bit further down the field.
What is interesting tonight is to see a number of new entries really throwing some times down as Terry Nightingale Jr. crosses for Turbo Brothers Racing. I'll have to decide which one I like more tonight. Crosses the line straight up into 3rd place, which is not a bad showing for a first qualifying lap out and the first time racing in this league. You've got the likes of Matthew Vince, also from Turbo Brothers, but in amongst it, Mark Healy from Orbit Drop Bear Motorsport in 12th at the moment as well. There's quite a few drivers that have recorded better times so far than Ben Roberts. Is it going to be classic Ben Roberts though? Is it going to be down to the last couple of minutes of this qualifying session and he's going to put in a lap that just blows everyone away, or is Bathurst perhaps a track that he's going to struggle at?
I have a feeling that he might well pop up right at the very end and, well, maybe not take pole, but certainly take a good position off the start. And that's all he really needs. You can see he's popping up with purple sectors here and there. It's just not got a whole lap together at the moment. He passes Tristan McLaren now as well, so no slipstream for him. And I think that's his slight undoing at the moment. This is one of the drivers, by the way, who's been assigned a class since we were last here. Top Park, oh no, sorry, it's not Top Park, sorry, I'm getting it mixed up. I will tell you about the 3 drivers who have been assigned classes though. Of course, in silver top parks. Ryan Borg has gone to gold after last week. He's currently in 19th place in the championship standings, and he's a gold class driver. It's actually just 1 place behind top parks. Angus Milne and Jackie Chung have both been put into the silver category as well. So Angus Milne currently 23rd in the championship standings, and he's been put into the silver category. Jackie Chung 3 positions further back in 26th, also in the silver category. So that's a few new drivers in position after the last weeks of racing. But we do have a couple of drivers who have not yet been assigned classes here tonight. James Antwis and Willie Brer, Wiley Brer. I don't know what we're going for there.
I think it's Wiley. I believe it's Wiley from memory.
Wiley. Okay. Okay, I'll go with that. Yes, those two not assigned classes yet, but you'd imagine after tonight they will be, and we'll see how they go. But yeah, they are a couple of drivers who popped in for tonight, making their debut, and obviously don't have a class as a result.
And got some support already for James Edwards. Jamie getting a shout out from David, just wishing him luck. So good to have you with us, David. And of course, our good friend in race control, Mr. Jimmy Peacock, is just checking in on us as well. Lovely to have you along, gents, as always. James Edwards just getting out on track again. Not assigned a class just yet, this being his first outing with FDL in the F4 Championship, but posting some decent times so far. Currently sitting 16th as we get into the last 5 minutes of qualifying. These drivers will have, at best, 2 more laps if they're getting out of the pits right now. And you've got a few drivers on their out lap who'll be trying to do exactly that at the last minute. No sooner have I looked at the standings that Ben Roberts has jumped right up to the front. He's not blowing the field away. There's only 400th in it, but he's found the pace he was looking for.
It's clearly not a circuit where he struggles. It's just taking a few minutes to warm up. Actually, he's about to go over the line again here. We'll see whether he can improve even further. Only sector 2 actually was purple, so that might not mean an improvement, but maybe by just a few hundredths or so. Let's see now comes through the final corner. Does Roberts, and what is the lap time going to be? It might be an improvement, you know. Maybe shave a few hundredths off. Not quite. He's in the 206s again, and that would have been good enough for second in isolation, but he's already first, so it doesn't need that position. And with 4 minutes to go, he pulls over to the right hand side. I wonder whether that might be a session over.
Yeah, you'd have to think he'd be pretty comfortable with that, especially seeing Kane Ryder just come along the home straight behind and not post a better time either. So look at the Team Max Boost gaggle of cars here, though. You said you were expecting to see a bit of teamwork. I suspect this might be exactly it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Kane Ryder sitting out there. You've got O'Shawn Colangelo right behind. I imagine Madeline McGee, there we go, in the mix as well. Just bringing up the back of this group, and then of course Vaughan Ryder in there as well. So just a few Team Max Boost entries on our screens right now.
That is
doesn't look half bad, right?
No, exactly. Yeah, it's a good team photo if you want, but no, it's a slightly odd thing also to see. But I really enjoy this about open qualifying. Yeah, I've done leagues in the past where this kind of teamwork stuff has actually been banned, or well, not banned by the rules, but they've just sort of taken on an internal agreement, an unwritten rule, if you like, to say, we shouldn't really do this. It's not really in the spirit of things. But I mean, this is absolutely what it's all about. This is fantastic to watch, I think, and the exact advantage of having open qualifying as well. Now, it is a bit of an unfair advantage to the competitors who don't have 4 teammates out there, maybe to tow them around in qualifying, but that's not really these guys' fault. Colangelo has got a real opportunity here, I think, to take that pole position away again with just over 2 minutes to go, with a huge slipstream here on the way down towards the final corner. Of course, Kane Ryder got a decent chance himself as well, and I wonder whether he's going to carry on or whether he's just going to pull out the way here for O'Shea Colangelo. It looks like they're going to both carry it. No, Ryder just pull out the way. So Kane Ryder, I presume, has been given the slipstream in the past himself, and that's how he got up into second place. And now Colangelo has got it. It's 2 personal bests in the first 2 sectors, a personal best in the penultimate sector as well. Is it enough, though, to take the 2 temps needed to get that pole position away from Benjamin Roberts? It's a nice and tidy final corner again, and over the line for O'Shea Colangelo. It is good enough. A 206.6. The teamwork pays off for Max Boost, and they are now sitting 1 and 3 in this session.
What a team effort that was. Great to see. It's actually like you say, it's not something you get to see a lot of, but geez, it's nice when it comes off.
Absolutely, it is. That was very well done from all of the Team Max Boost drivers. Now, Benjamin Roberts is just a bit further up the road from them, and surely we'll have a little bit of time to respond here as we go back to Seth Burkhart's, the only driver on the bottom of your screen, well, until I started that sentence, who had any personal best sectors, currently running in 19th place, behind ahead of all but 3 of our silver class drivers. Burkhart's goes over the line, and doesn't seem to improve anywhere. That doesn't seem to have counted, so stays in 19th. Alexi Watson's third in silver, but a long way behind his rivals, which might be a small concern.
Yeah, it's look, it's a big gap. I mean, we're only talking a half second, but a half second here is a fair distance. You can see Watson actually getting a little bit caught up in the battle as he comes towards the line.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried, honestly, for Ben Roberts, whether he's actually going to make it to the line before the time cutoff. He's got 15 seconds, and he's going to be right on. I actually don't think he's going to quite get there. It's going to be very, very close. Has he left this run just a little too late as we count down? No, he's given up. He knows he's not going to make that corner. Here we go. This will be the time done. No. See, this gets me every time, honestly. The race sessions do allow these guys to continue. It's something that I will wrap my head around eventually, I promise. I'm so used to these qualifying sessions just booting drivers unceremoniously off the track, even just a couple metres short of the line. So it's a nice change.
Also, it changes league to league as well, which is quite hard to get your head around. David Besnard is making use of that extra little bit of time towards the end and improving maybe. Yeah, it does look like oh no, not quite an improvement at that time around. It's 6th place for Besnard, and since Todd Park's in the pit lane, shouldn't be any demotions there, although Terry Nightingale Jr. does move up to 4th place. A good start for him. By the way, making his debut here tonight. There's actually 4 debuts happening. We've already spoken about the TBC entries, but this is the other one. Matthew Vince, the other Turbo Bros. If that's a mouthful. 12th place and doesn't improve, but stays where he is in the order. So that's going to be the end of that. Here's Don Donoghue. 17th place for him so far. But yeah, a few debuts being made here today, which is good to see. And as I said at the start, I reckon Bathurst might have a small role to play in that, maybe.
I suspect so, and why wouldn't it? It's such an awesome track to drive, no matter what you're in. Oh, big moment for Dono. I mean, he's made it across the control line, so the lap time will get recorded, even if it won't count. But that's one way to finish it off.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it'll avoid that in the race. 45-minute race as it is. I must admit that I am very sceptical that we're going to be able to get through this race without a safety car. Maybe that's a...
I think if we can get over the mountain once, just once on lap 1 without an incident, I think that'll be signal enough that it'll be okay. But even that does feel a little ambitious, doesn't it?
Yeah. And oh dear, Angus Milne's got a pit lane start for qualifying impeding. He was the one. Who were we watching going side by side into the chase a few moments ago? It was only 2 minutes ago, but I've forgotten already. It was somebody anyway. Angus Milne was racing with them down into the chase, and I didn't really understand why at the time, and I certainly don't understand now, because he's had to start from pit lane because of that. He'd only qualified 25th anyway, so it's not too much of a penalty. But a pit lane start might actually be a small advantage around here. You can avoid the carnage if indeed there is any. Now, maybe I'm a little bit sceptical just because I don't know if you saw the race I did on Sunday, where about only there was a 40 car field, sorry, only 4 of the drivers got through cleanly coming out of turn 1 for the first time. So maybe I'm slightly scarred by that instance on Sunday.
I mean, that'd certainly do it. That's a less than ideal racing scenario as a driver, unless you're one of the lucky 4, I suppose.
Yeah, well, that was certainly the case on that day. I know Tom saw it because he sent it to me, and yeah, so there we go. Hopefully we're and said the same comment actually. Hopefully we're cleaner on Thursday, which hopefully is going to be the case as we go forward into this race. It is time for the starting grid, and Oisin Colangelo, who's taken pole with that clever bit of teamwork for Team Max Boost to actually be 1 and 3 on one side of the grid. Benjamin Roberts and Terry Nightingale Jr. on the other side of the grid. Dylan De Bono is running out the top 5 alongside Dylan Liddell, who's another one of the team. The guys making a debut tonight actually, so that's up to 5 debuts tonight. David Bernard and Todd Parks then are on row 4, the first all-silver row ahead of Madeline McGee and Thomas Hinge. McGee racing in the gold class for the first time since he was promoted. Dan Ackland and Matthew Vince then on row 6 ahead of Rishabh Banerjee and Vaughan Ryder. Alexi Watson and Mark Hilly on row 8 ahead of Tom Donoghue and James Antwist, the first of the TBC drivers. It is Tristan McLaren and Seth Burkhardt then sharing row 10. Daniel Byrne and Josh Marsh on the next row ahead of Wiley Blair and Mitchell Halfway. Angus Milne starts from the pit lane. Scott Bartine, Mark Heppel and William Fraser will start from the back of the field. Of course, Jimmy Peacock, our pace car driver, will not start on the racetrack. So 28 drivers.
Unless they're really expecting it to be a messy first lap. I mean, they might start with the safety car out there, but I feel like it's probably not the way that they want to run this one. If you're going to do it, though, Bathurst would probably not be a bad one to consider having the safety car out and ready to get around the track.
It's not Formula One, thankfully, so we can start on the circuit normally, which is a good thing. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting run down towards turn 1 and especially towards turn 2 for the first time, I think, because if you are going to lead this race, I think early on for a significant portion of time, you've got to be leading to begin with. Having said that, it might be more of a draft track than we're expecting. We might see a lot of drivers staying in touch because of particularly because of the 2 long straights we've got at this circuit.
Yeah, will certainly make a difference for a number of drivers. It's always the danger, though, isn't it? You know, you get to any track with a long straight involved, and it can almost lull you into a little bit of a false sense of security around your actual pace, and you'll find yourself getting to a braking zone a lot quicker than you perhaps are used to, and that can be the undoing of many a driver. Thankfully, I think the field we've got here pretty experienced with these cars, so unlikely to be quite as much of an issue, but certainly something for racing fans and new drivers to be on the lookout for.
Well, there's only a couple of gaps left on the grid now. Of course, Angus Milne's not going to fill his gap on the grid because he is forced to start from pit lane here at the start tonight of the Everything Simulated F4 Championship, supported as well, of course, by Player One SimGear. It's time for the second half of the season. 2 feature races, 2 sprint rounds, 2 Australian rounds, 2 Japanese rounds, and we are almost ready to go for the first of those Australian feature rounds. It is Bathurst here in the F4 Championship, and Oisin Colangelo with pole position here tonight for the first time this season. We are green flag racing from the mountain, and it's a good start from Colangelo, who's single file on the way towards turn 1 with Roberts, Ryder and Nightingale Jr. all single file behind. It's a good start from all of them now as they get into the slipstream of one another and draft on the way down Mountain Straight for the first time towards turn 2. Tony Nightingale Jr. already alongside came Ryder, but Ryder's still got the slipstream, so he'll surely have his nose in front by the time they get to turn 2. What a very, very orderly start this is on the way to the mountain for the first time.
This is what we wanted to see, although we're starting to see already drivers pushing for position 2 and 3 wide as we get up towards the cutting for the first time. This is not a corner where you want to be dicing side by side. I'm half expecting them to come through with a puff of smoke behind. It looks, though, as though we've gotten through very, very cleanly. I don't want to get my hopes up just yet, Ewan, but this could be the start we were looking for. That means we're in for a real cracker of a 45-minute race with minimal safety car periods.
Absolutely. I was saying before that there might be safety cars tonight, but not yet. Anyway, over the top of the hill they go, and now plunging back down the other side. There's already a gap in the field here. Look at this, between the 5th place on backwards. Been watching and keeping an eye on some of the battling, which is now single filed out, but the damage might be done here. The top 4 might already have broken away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, getting onto Conrad Straight for the first time with that sort of a gap, it's going to be very, very hard for the rest of the field to catch up, even though the field is still otherwise fairly well grouped together. But yeah, Colangelo, Roberts, Ryder and Nightingale already out to a 1.5 seconds and climbing as they take full advantage of each other's aerodynamics.
Side by side, but further back for 9th place between McGee and Hinz. Oh, and 4 wide, well, so 4 wide, 2 by 2, I should say, into the chase for the others. Colangelo still ahead of Roberts and Ryder and Nightingale, though. That was close as they came into the chase, though. And an early flavour of what we're going to see here. It's side by side everywhere towards the end of the lap, while it certainly wasn't at the start of it. Down the inside and through on the inside line there. That was Thomas Hinz following This is Vince trying to follow Hinge through, I should say, on Madeline McGee, and does follow through there. So that's in towards turn number 1, and a change of position there down at the first corner, side by side further behind. This is what you expect from Bathurst in these F4 cars. A lot of drafting, a lot of side by side, and Besnard gets past De Bono. Is Little going to take them both? Maybe not quite. Besnard's very close to making it all the way round, but he won't, and De Bono keeps 5th place. It's all happening back here in this second group.
Yeah, Besnard's got to be very, very careful here alongside Little as they come up towards the cutting again. They've gotten back into that single file, and probably not a moment too soon. As we take a look a little bit further back, still plenty of drivers really packed in here as they make their way up into the tight, winding ascent of Mount Panorama. I'm honestly so impressed to see these drivers even thinking about even overlapping tyres, much less going side by side through some of these corners. It's not something you see very often over Mount Panorama, is drivers who are willing to do that. As we see a slight touch of a wall there, for it looked like that might have been Richard Banerjee, who's just tapped the wall, but doesn't look to have done any damage worth noting yet. It's something they've got to be so careful of. There is just no room for error as you come down into Forest Elbow again. Another tap of the wall. That was Mark Healy that time. That was Alexi Watson. Just getting a little bit too close for comfort on that exit wall. And here we go. Down Conrad Straight again. You can see the moves on in the background. Daniel Byrne on James Antwis. They go side by side under the sign and down towards the heavy braking zone that lies ahead. Antwis is going to have the inside.
And keeps that 18th position for the moment in this very, very big group that we're seeing here. To the battle for 5th place is pretty close as well, and look at this. This is Little getting past De Bono now on the way through that final corner. We're almost 3 wide in the background. We might well be 3 wide in the background. We are in towards turn number 1, although backing out of it there, that was quite smart on the way towards turn number 1. Now then, out of the first corner they come, and onto Mountain Straight again. It's almost 2 rows here where they're drafting one another and trying to make up places. De Bono gets ahead of Little again out front, and they've got a chance to break away here if these two get organised, because Besnard's defending a little bit. Top Park side by side with Vince as well, and Park stays in front on the inside, does he? Or is that as Vince going through, sorry. So Parks is going backwards, and he can't afford to let his silver class rival get too far away, and he is letting him get far away as Thomas Hinds gets past as well.
Honestly, if we played back that run up towards the mountain at quarter speed, our standard, close look replay speed, I reckon you'd almost swear that was a formation lap with them going 2 by 2 the whole way down. That was just incredibly well spaced.
They're very well organised through that straight that time round. As we go back to the second. Yeah, this is a long way back. This is Daniel Byrne, who's heading this second group on the road, and this goes all the way back to 24th. So pretty much everybody is involved in a battle of some description early on in this race, anyway. So this is good to see. Although it is a lot further down the field, of course.
Big lock up there for Antwis, manages to keep it going, doesn't go into the wall, which was probably a brief moment of concern there, but beautifully handled on the way through Forest Elbow. Now we see Burkhardt's look for the speed to carry him past, and again goes to the inside of the turn. Going to rely on the tyres, just giving him the grip to stay there, but Antwis maintains pace, pushes him out to the very edge of the corner, and will retain that position once again. Burkhardt's having another bite at it though. This is dangerous. Very, very close to coming together there. There's very little to separate them. Not a lot of room on the exit of this final corner either as we get onto the main straight. They're going to have to sort this out pretty quickly. Burkhardt is going to go for it up and over the curve. There's contact.
Oh, and we've got trouble. McLaren involved, and we've got a rear wing off here as well in the middle of this group. That is it's bound to happen at some stage. It was inevitable in some sense. Marsh and McLaren's got a meatball. So has Vincent Little, by the way. They must have made contact as well, because they've both got meatballs now.
We'll have a look and see if we can find just where that all happened and how they've managed to pick up damage in amongst it all up ahead, as we see a big puff of smoke. Someone just outbreaking themselves a little. Have a look at this group. coming up towards the cutting.
Goodness me. It's all changing as well. All the positions changing. Top parts at the head of the group in 13th place as Hilly now drops down the field. Bono, yeah. Oh, and he has got fairly significant damage as well. 5 drivers with meatballs, but they're all able to continue on, which is very unusual.
Yeah, nothing completely car-ending at the moment, but I'm trying to work out what exactly is wrong with De Bono's car. It looked as though he was actually dragging that front left wheel all the way up the mountain. Oh, big contact there, so wow. Definitely something off with the suspension geometry. Can't get the turn in, and that's probably done even more damage to the rear end. You'll see this in the pace, or lack thereof, on the way down Conrad Straight, and almost a little bit of crabbing going on there if my eyes are not deceiving me.
Well, that car's definitely crabbing, and that is suspension damage for sure for De Bono. And at that, Madeline McGee's got a meatball on this lap as well. 6 meatballs on 1 lap. This is further back in the pack, where we've got rear wings off. Josh Marsh has got no rear wing. We've seen that since the final corner. He's got a long lap to get himself back to the pit lane without that rear wing. Oh, there's the crabbing Bono into pit lane. Little also comes into pit lane because he has to. Vince clearly has got some very minor damage to give him a meatball because he's actually carried on.
Doing all right. We'll jump back up front. Neil, you're reading my mind, my friend. This front battle between Colangelo, Ryder, Roberts and Nightingale, very, very consistent. Just a few changes here and there of position. But as it stands, these 4 probably have no idea of the chaos unfolding behind them, especially in the absence of a safety car being called at this point in time. They are in a world of their own, 7 seconds up the road from Dan Ackland. But nothing to separate these 4 at the moment.
Yeah, and you know, while it is a close battle for the lead, there actually hasn't been very much happening in this battle so far. The only change we've seen since we left this battle was the fact that Kane Ryder's now second, Ed Benjamin Roberts who's now 3rd. But other than that, it's been absolutely as it was at the earlier part of this race, and that is, of course, meaning that Oisin Colangelo's been leading this whole race so far, his whole 10 minutes, while all the carnage has been happening further behind. 6 meatballs in 1 lap, and Mark Healy still on pit lane repairing his car. Actually, William Fraser took a little bit of a while as well to get going. He's not too far away, but look at this on the way towards the chase. This is what we've been seeing a lot of. Roberts having to defend from Nightingale, who doesn't want to sit in 4th forever. But Roberts doesn't want to fall any further through this group than he is at the moment, because he knows how easy it would be to get stuck back there.
Dylan De Bono as well has picked up a black flag. I'm not sure how or where. I would take a gamble, though, that it's probably something to do with his transit through the pits, whether he's cut one of the corners or gotten off the pit limiter a little bit too soon and actually picked up a speeding infringement. But sitting with a black flag at the moment, that is not, as far as we are aware, one that's been issued by race control. So it says to me that iRacing has handed that to him, and yeah, that will potentially be a 40-odd second stop and hold.
And that's 5-second time penalty for Marsh, leaving insufficient racing room. And that latest incident, I presume there's going to be a lot of things coming through about the meatballs we've just seen, by the way, because only explains 2 of them, that penalty there. Of course, there may be no further action, in which case we won't see it, but everything will be looked at by race control over the next few moments. Very interesting that Vince here in this next group is actually carrying on, despite the damage that he's got, which is really a testament to how little damage there actually is on his car, but it's giving him a meatball anyway.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, you've got, I think from memory, 3 laps to come in and get that repair done. So, you know, if you're able to keep driving the car, it doesn't hurt to actually keep pushing on, you know, use up some more fuel, use up some more of the tyres, and actually make the stop a little more worthwhile, I suppose. It's not much, the extra couple of laps, but it certainly means that the pit stop strategy is not quite so badly thrown out the window in instances like this. And Vince is certainly keeping up a pretty reasonable pace, sitting in 9th at the moment, up 3 spots from where he started. and managing to hold off for the moment Tom Donohoe and Todd Parks behind.
Yep, doing a good job of things, as it's side by side for second meantime between Kane Ryder and Benjamin Roberts. And this is the problem that Roberts he should never have let Ryder through into second and or indeed let the Max Boost cars get together at all here, because this is the issue. If Roberts can do the only thing he knows now, which is to come into pit lane. That's the only choice he really had there. From anywhere between lap 1 and lap 7 we should see the pit stops, and so he's not left it too late. He's only gone 1 lap early on lap 6 now. This is the end of lap 6, but that's the only thing he really could do to separate these two. He just had to do something different.
Yeah, Ben Roberts, we know, loves to try and work the undercut rather to his advantage, and this will certainly be a test of that here. If he can get out into some clean air, then might be able to put down some decent times. It's a hard track, right? You really don't have a lot of opportunity to get passes done, and if you do get stuck behind cars that you are even just a little bit quicker than up and over the top of the mountain, it can be super frustrating for a driver. So not surprised to see Ben Roberts come in and get one of those pit stops done. The question will be whether it actually works out the way that he's got planned.
It's very wide indeed from halfway. Who's got Alexia Watson on the other side here. Side by side into the cutting is always tricky, and they make it through. Watson's got a championship to think about, don't forget, and so maybe didn't go in there with as much commitment as he otherwise might do. But look at him crawling all over the back of halfway just in front here as they go up over the top of the mountain. I have to say that all the incidents have happened down the other side actually, and so far that's what's kept us green. I think no incidents over the top of the mountain in the first 15 minutes.
Well, you've said it now, Ewan. Wait and see. I give it 2 laps before that particular little comment comes back to bite us.
I only said in the first 15 minutes it hadn't happened.
Yes,
I've covered myself.
That's true. That's true. You've covered it. We're fine. Yeah, look, this downhill section is really, really hard. Even with plenty of experience at this track, a big contact there for Watson into the wall again, using the barriers as best he can to keep the car on track. It's really tricky because it's over in a flash, and you don't get a huge amount of time to really understand how your car is reacting to the different dynamic that steep downhill brings into your braking. So even with a lot of experience around this track, it's something that it can really throw a driver off as they come back down over the hill. Colangelo, Ryder, Nightingale, Besnard and Ackland all into the pits ahead, as is Banerjee. So plenty of pit stops coming. You'll see most of the field peeling off here. We are obviously getting very close to the end of that starting field.
Yeah, they're all going to be queuing up here and careful braking with one another. Now then, we've got Tom Donohoe carrying on. So he's been able to save enough fuel to carry on. Benjamin Roberts, though, has got out ahead of the others. And has he broken the rest of the field here? It's half a second to a second shorter than Colangelo Ryder in the pit lane. He's nearly a second ahead of the rest as Vince gets a 5-second time penalty for a loss of control. This could be absolutely massive for the race lead here, as Roberts come through to take the lead in second place at the moment, but he will take the lead. Colangelo is over a second behind, and now that the slipstream is broken, has that decided the race?
Well, that's what Roberts was looking for, isn't it? The early pit, just enough to give some clean air ahead, let him put in just a couple of really, really quick laps on the way out of the pits, and just enough distance back to Colangelo. This is going to be very, very hard to reel back in. Tom Donohoe up ahead, unfortunately, will probably be coming into the pits on this lap, and so it's going to leave him sitting a fair way further down the order when he does come back out. Roberts, again, in the absence of any errors from here on, and it's not something we see very often from him in an F4, it's going to be very, very tough to stop him.
And again, pit strategy is giving him such an advantage in this race and in this championship this season. Is just imperious on strategy, and if he's not leading on the circuit on speed, and he can get himself a pit strategy that puts him back in the lead again. He's won the last 3 races in a row, don't forget, over the last 2 weeks, and he's not finished off of the podium yet this season. Phillip Island was the only race in which he's finished off the podium so far, and so it's been dominant from him, really. There's Tony Nightingale Jr. getting down the inside of Mark Heppel, who's yet to pit, so 8 laps for Heppel and Donohoe. Wonder how possible it is for them to one-stop this race. Probably not that possible if we don't have a safety car. But anyway, they both come in now a lap later than we thought was possible.
Yeah, definitely getting the most out of the fuel, and certainly the way that the vast bulk of the field managed to stick together through that early section has probably saved a lot of drivers, perhaps even enough to get those extra couple of laps out of it, just from having the slipstream, particularly down Conrad Straight. Big puff of smoke there from somebody's pit entry. Could be Mark Heppel, I think, who's gotten on the brakes rather aggressively.
And inside, penalty comes through for Alexi Watson. Is that for no corner overlap? But there's a spin out the final corner. Who is that further down the field?
Dan
Ackland, that is. Yeah, Dan Ackland. So he goes for a spin and drops down to ninth position at the moment, behind Besnard now in the field. So we jump back up the order again towards the leaders. Benjamin Roberts now with a second and a half over the rest of the field. It's a big lead that he's got now for Roberts, and I'm not sure it's going to be brought back again either, to be honest, with Colangelo giving chase and these two battling over third place.
Yeah, and I will offer my apologies, folks. We are having issues with our timing software this evening, and as we are jumping cameras, the software is not actually picking this up, so working on a fix here in the background. And you can see the replay of Dan Ackland before, just to give you an idea of just how far out of whack this is at the moment. This is from where we went back to look at his crash before. It's just decided to catch up for the overlay now. So apologies, bear with me. We'll try and get this sorted for you.
And that one on your screen there was Nightingale getting ahead of Ryder, who goes slightly wide off the side of the circuit and off the other side as well. So Ryder loses a couple of, as you can see there on the left-hand side, hasn't changed yet, but I can tell you on my timing screen it has. Nightingale into the wall was that, or certainly for a spin at the final corner there. I don't think he found the wall actually, but no, he didn't. But he did go for a spin just as he got himself in front. Did all that work to get ahead, and now look into the final corner. Slides, spins straight around. That's two spins at the final corner in 2 laps we've seen there now.
Great catch though.
360.
Yeah, just needs to add the nose scope. Look, it's a tough corner. You know, you clip that inside curb, and particularly in an open wheel with a stiff suspension, it's absolutely going to throw you. But there's actually it's almost a little gutter on the inside of that turn as well, that if you do try and put the power down too quickly, that's gonna allow you to overpower the rear tyres very, very easily as well. It's a really, really tough corner to get right, as we see Daniel Byrne now with Seth Burkhardt on the way up the mountain.
And this is further down the field. Vince, of course, is the one just in front of them again as well, and they are both going to gain positions as a result of that. Can't remember if it's 5 or 10 seconds for Vince, but anyway, whichever one it is, they drop behind both of these guys at the moment in this battle, as they now come through the climb uphill, now over the very top, McPherson Park, and back down the other side now. As always, as we know, at this circuit, very difficult section of braking there as you're diving right and left and right again down the hill while you're trying to brake. Now into Forest Elbow as well, the very, very steeply downhill left-hander, before getting yourself back out onto Conrod Straight again. The highest placed battle in the field, by the way, is for 7th position at the moment, because the gaps out front are just continuing to extend. There is a live look on the left-hand side at the timing. 10 laps gone, 2.5 seconds for Roberts, who is controlling this race now.
Well, Ryder now starting to close in on Richard Banerjee, only a few tenths in it. Ryder putting in some very, very quick laps, certainly not the fastest on track, but we're doing more than enough to stick with Banerjee, and now looking to perhaps make the move on the way up the mountain. Going to have to close in a lot more than this, so looking forward to the slipstream as they come up this first long run here. It's something you do have to think about as a driver. It's often worth waiting to put a move on until you do have this kind of a run to really make sure that it sticks when it does eventuate. It wouldn't be the first time I've seen a driver actually hold back from making a pass right up and over the top of the mountain to really make the most of it. Down Conrod straight on the other side, you do of course risk coming off the track as you go up and over, but it's a risk that pays off handsomely if you can get it done.
Little down the inside of Bartine there for 14th position, so there's another pass being made there as Tom Donahue just up the road as well. A couple of battles happening further back in the pack. This is McGee and Mill into turn 2. Madden McGee on the outside. Oh, it's never going to work. You've always got to be wary of the camber of that corner, and unfortunately for McGee there, really tried to go around the outside, but it's a very, very rare occasion where you see someone go around the outside there at turn 2 and make it work. It very, very rarely ever works.
Yeah, it really requires a huge error under brakes or very early braking from the other driver to be able to pull that off. Tom Donahue now leading Little and Bartine down on to Conrod Straight. Little's beautifully positioned, although just needs to get a little closer before thinking about the move under brakes at the end of this run. Donahue's going to do everything possible to just maximise the pace, but here comes Little. You can see it closing up already. Little pulls out very, very early, but feels like he's got the pace to get done, and indeed does get through. Now the two teammates, Donahue and Bartine, find themselves nose to tail. It'll be interesting to see which of them is feeling quicker here and whether there's a bit of conversation going on. For reference, Bartine's fastest lap so far, only about 4/10 quicker than Donahue, so there's not a lot in it between the two Everything Simulated racing entries.
Nearly 5 seconds in pit lane for Benjamin Roberts, meantime, who has pitted in for the final time here, and he might get dragged into a group. Oh dear, this could be trouble for Benjamin Roberts in his race, because Banerjee's going to get past here. Or is he? No, he doesn't.
Oh,
and they lift off on the way down the straight as well. What's going on here as they get themselves into turn 2? Roberts has decided that on lap 11, which is actually a lap earlier than we were expecting here today, he pits in, and Banerjee there, for whatever reason, just didn't take the opportunity to get past him.
Yeah, I don't know if Banerjee had quite the pace to get it done, or perhaps recognising that there'd be a lot of pressure. I mean, realistically, for Banerjee, I wouldn't want to be in the seat and have Ben Roberts on fresh tyres just coming out from the pits and wanting to get on with the race. I'd feel a lot of pressure having him right on that rear wing on the way out of the pits. So, maybe the right decision from a comfort perspective, because Banerjee's race right now really is with Ryder and Ackland behind.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I just want to see a close race between the leaders, to be honest, and Roberts getting caught in with these guys would certainly allow that, but that's not going to happen here. I wonder if that's a slight concern that he's decided to come in on lap 11 here and do it a lap shorter than what was recommended to us. We obviously given notice on when you'd expect to see the drivers into pit lane, and lap 12 was when we were told the second stop window will open, but Nightingale follows. This is lap 12, and Hinds follows as well, so this is more expected on lap 12, but the race leader, under no pressure really, decided to come in a lap, well, at least a lap early than what you'd expect. Vaughan Ryder also into pit lane, so it's definitely kicked off the final stops now.
It has. Now that we appear to have a little bit of control back over our broadcast resources here, folks, I do want to take you back a little to have a look at Alexi Watson's incident, because it's actually put him in pits for quite some time so far, so we'll see if we can jump back to that and get a bit of a view of just what's happened with Watson on the way up the hill.
Out of the cutting, spins, and slaps the wall quite hard as well on the front end there. So, did he have to tow? Did he get himself out of here?
Doesn't look healthy
I can't see him driving that all the way back.
No. Even with a downhill roll, the car is all sorts of out of shape. Managed to get it rolling again, which is pretty impressive. It will be just barely quicker than towing, I suspect. Yeah, it's definitely damaged the rear right wheel there, wobbling around all over the place.
So it's been in pit lane for a while. This is going to become a drop round for Watson then in that case. His current drop round was on it's in round 1, where he only scored 21 points. Not sure what he's going to get for a 26th place finish in a feature race. We've not had 26 drivers in the field yet. It's going to be about 10 though, so this will become his drop week, and so 21 will be added to his score. Tristan McLaren with a big opportunity to gain some points here, but of course he's had his own issues today as well, and he's only in 17th place as it stands.
Yeah, quite a number of names that we're used to seeing a little further up the pack, really struggling tonight to get some consistency and put in some good lap times. Terry Nightingale had a fantastic start, but finds himself back in 15th at the moment. Now, as the pit stops start to roll through ahead, that should tidy up a little bit, because he has had his second stop. So really only Ben Roberts ahead, who has made 2 stops, and you can see the rest of the field starting to flow into the pits now. So you expect that Nightingale should pick up, I'd suggest at least another probably 10 spots over the next 2 laps, purely from passing pitted cars.
So many more in the pit lane this time around, including Colangelo, who's behind Banerjee and Vince, and Burkhart's just slips through as well. So this is the nail in the coffin, I think, really, for Ocean Colangelo's hopes of winning here at Bathurst today. The pit stop was just 5 seconds long, a little bit longer again than Benjamin Roberts, but the traffic here that she's come out in is really going to be the undoing here.
Yeah, should be crossing the fingers that the few cars ahead, Vince, Banerjee, Burkhardt, all make the decision to pit in at the end of this lap, just to minimise the impact of being behind the 3 of them. Colangelo looking to get a move on, really riding the back of Seth Burkhardt's car at the moment. But let's actually jump on board with Colangelo so you can get a bit of an idea of just how fast it is with these walls right next to you, all the way across the top of the mountain. It's scary quick in just about any car, but particularly an open wheeler. It's a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but yeah, much happier doing it in a sim than I would be in a real car, that's for sure.
And the fear factor definitely taken out of it. Down to 3rd gear for Forrest Darbo. Most cars you want seconds, but seconds a bit short in the F4 to be using, really. 6th gear up towards just now, and up towards the bridge now on Conrod Straight. Big bit of slipstream here on Seth Burkhart's here for Ocean Colangelo, who now tops out in 6th, just about running out of speed towards the end to get past, but should be drafting past without too many problems. And there you go, Burkhart's will just allow Colangelo to go into 5th place now. Halfway, and Heppel meantime 12th place. Halfway on the inside, keeps that position. Heppel tries to get the run, and Ackland and Ryder as well, Vaughan Ryder that is. Still plenty going on out there on the circuit. It's just not really for top positions at the moment. It's the midfield and towards the back end of the field where the racing is at the moment.
Exactly what we expected to see tonight though, right? Slipstream battles down Conrod Straight is the name of the game here at Bathurst in anything with this amount of aero attached to it. It's certainly where most of these passes are being made, and it's a bit of a rare treat as a driver to be able to pass when you're not under brakes. You know, it's not something you get to experience a great deal of the time. A lot of your passes at most tracks are done with a better braking effort or a bit of corner setup and a bit of exit speed carrying you through. But here, the slipstream is absolutely in full effect, and it's a little gratifying, even if you know there's nothing in it. It's a little gratifying to kind of almost look over and wave as you just sail past the driver that you've been behind for the last half a lap.
Less than 15 minutes to go now, so not much left in this race at all. Still, pit stops need to be made. David Besnard, of course, who's leading at the moment, needs to pit, and that's no surprise. Matthew Vince also does, as well as Burkhardt, Byrne, Donahue, Bartine and Heppel, all in the top 11 at the moment, but they all have to pit in the next few moments. Unfortunately, that means that most of the battles that we're actually seeing on the screen at the moment inside the top 10 are going to fade away very, very soon, because we are coming towards the end of lap 15. According to pre-race notes, they'll only be able to go 1 lap further before having to come into pit lane. They'll run out of fuel. After all, though, it's worth remembering that Tom Donahue and Mark Heppel both went on an extra lap, so maybe there'll be a couple of laps left for them before they pit in.
I'll go back and have a look at Wiley Blair's incident that has landed him in the pits as well. It's that final corner once again, catching the drivers out, up and onto that curb, and that's enough to unsettle the car. Backs it into the tyre wall, and there goes the rear wing. I sincerely hope that Blair saw it bouncing off ahead, or the spotters told him, because shortly thereafter comes out of the pits and on the following lap.
Oh no!
Has almost done the same thing again. However, a bit more damage to the front end this time. So Blair not having a good time at that final corner here at Bathurst.
No, and that's going to be a longer repair this time around, because obviously the fast repair will go. While we were looking at that, by the way, it looks like Richard Banerjee went off the circuit. Maybe it was just a small off track, but anyway, he's now with Vaughan Ryder as Dan Ackland comes out of the pit lane. They're going to be very close on the way down Mountain Straight. Yeah, so Ackland, Burkhardt, Ryder, Banerjee will be battling over 12th place. So we go back to 4th with Colangelo for this 4.5 seconds behind Roberts. Here's the Banerjee, Ryder and Burkhardt battle. Outside for Ryder, and he cannot get past quite. And Banerjee, by the way, not a teammate. Looks kind of similar from some angles, especially when the sun's shining on those two cars, but obviously not a Max Boost driver. He's not a teammate with Ryder here, Von Ryder.
No, and Ryder at the moment concentrating very much ahead to Burkhardt, so starting to just pull away a little up the hill. Banerjee finding a better exit and now really challenging Vaughan Ryder for position. Finding a place to overtake here, though. It's very, very tough. It's not impossible. We saw a couple of drivers giving it a shot in those opening laps, but since then, I think you get to this sort of point of a 45-minute race and you have to start thinking about the survival of the car a little bit. You know, you've done well to get to this stage. You don't want to overcook it with this section, particularly having walls all of about, what do we call that, 30 centimetres past the track limits?
Yeah, exactly. It's no room for error at Bathurst, that's for sure. As Besnard comes into the pit lane, as expected, at the end of what should be the limit here. Thomas Hinds, meanwhile, gets past Mark Heppel, who might be able to go a lap further, because he did in the first stint. Vince can't, though. He comes into pit lane. Roberts will retake the lead as a result of all of that. And,
last-minute decision from Heppel.
He wrong-footed himself almost there as he was trying to decide whether to come into pit lane or not. He was weaving left and right, and eventually he did decide to come in. I mean, steers makes no difference really, 1 or 2 laps in the situation he's in, but anyway, nearly wrong-footed himself anyway.
Have a look at the intense determination on the face of Hinds right now. Just locked in at the moment, right behind Besnard. Gets the pace as Besnard comes out of the pits, not quite able to get up to speed in time to hold Hinds off, so Hinds is going to have to go around the outside. Besnard, though, going to continue to challenge as they come up the hill. Hinds will be well set up, just gets the nose ahead there and establishes the racing line as we come through the cutting. And up the hill we go once again. Ben Roberts out in front, 4.5 seconds and ever so slowly climbing. Ocean Colangelo now going to need to keep an eye out for Kane Ryder, teammate, a few seconds further back perhaps.
Oh, hello. This is side by side over the top of the mountain as Besnard, for whatever reason, is getting involved here with Thomas Hinds. He's the silver class leader, and Besnard is trying to get past him again anyway, and does. Not sure why, as Vince drops to the back end of the out for ninth place. That will be the biggest group left in the field from here to the end, and Vince has got big damage here. He's got another meatball, and that'll be the end of Vince in this race. He's had some good runs, he's had a penalty, and now he's got another meatball, and there you go. That rear left is dragging along the ground.
Yeah, not a healthy car at all. Takes the escape road, and it actually looks like front and rear left dragging on the brakes at the moment. And you can see the wheel just getting very, very loose as he hits the grass there. This is going to be a slow limp back and struggling to keep the car off the wall. Just barely steering available to him. That's a very unhappy Formula 4 race car.
You are right, it's both left side tyres deflated and suspension broken at the moment. Here comes Bartine down the inside Ackland. It looked like he was too deep there for a moment, and look at that, Burkott's in the background. It's really flying in here. Only 8 minutes to go, and so these guys are starting to race a little bit harder again, much like they were at the start of the race. Bartine's still on the inside here with Ackland round the outside, a bit too deep there, and here comes Burkott's. It's 3 wide over the start finish line, 3 wide in the background as well, as Banerjee gets alongside Little and Vorm Ryder. It's not quite 3 wide in the background, but it is here up ahead. Bartine steamed through the middle. He'll have 9th for the moment. Burkott's now stuck on the outside. He's in danger of being freight trained now into turn 2.
And Bartine taking Ackland with him in the slipstream, and I think that's a very intentional choice. You saw the amount of pace that Burkhardt is carrying out of those turns. I'm not quite sure where Burkhardt is finding it, because the tyres are no newer than anyone else. See a little bit of contact in the background. Burkhardt gets nudged to the outside by Dan Ackland, but Burkhardt's just had so much more pace coming out of a couple of those turns, and I'm not quite sure where he's found it.
And there's me, Little as well, steaming down the inside of Burkhart's there, who had to give him some room through the cutting, and they get away with it. Ackland next in line, and then Banerjee, Vorm Ryder, but Bartine now is in danger of getting clear. If these guys don't get their act together, 8/10 of a second, I have a feeling Bartine will be clear by the end of this lap, because these guys are fighting hard over these positions now, and fair play to them for racing so hard through that first section there and actually not crashing, because all 5 of them would have been involved if any of them had made contact.
Yeah, it's look, I think the extra surety of the amount of downforce these cars do have. They're certainly not the highest downforce cars that you'll find on the iRacing roster, but it is more than enough to give you quite a bit of confidence to really push down the hill, where a lot of other cars that you'd traditionally see at Bathurst, you have to really just almost kid glove them as you come down the hill, because they get so loose. These F4s though, even on that downhill run, really do just stick to the tarmac, and it allows you to really throw them through the corners. Bit of contact there with Banerjee. He's looking to go through. Ackland's going to take a look up the inside, but ends up falling just a little further back as a result.
And Vorm Ryder actually gets alongside as well, didn't even get himself back into line again. As Hinds and Besnard as well fight for 5th position. This is, again, Hinds trying to get past Besnard. And again, I'm repeating myself, but not sure why Besnard is fighting this so hard. He's got 11 positions over anybody else in the silver class. And, you know, it's not really a championship contender, is Besnard. Maybe he wants to be, because he's 22nd in the overall standings at the moment. He's 97 points behind Alexi Watson coming into this race. And yes, he might be able to take a big step forward here, but he's fighting really hard over 5th or 6th position, when if he crashes, he'll lose the class win, which is surely the important thing.
Oh, look, you know what, when you tell any racing driver not to race another car that's on the same lap, and I think they'll look at you and in just complete disbelief and unable to understand what it is you're trying to tell them. I don't see any reason why Besnard would be thinking too much about it. All he sees at the moment is Hinds' car behind, and that's where he wants Hinds to be. That said, if Thomas Hinds can get a good exit here out of Forest Elbow, then a good opportunity to get back in front at the other end.
It's true. I suppose that they are just going to race what's in front of them. As they're about to cross 2 laps to go, by the way, Benjamin Rollets. These guys are as well in the next few moments. Here comes Hinds again. Very close in behind into the chase, but it's not forced to give him room. Shows him the outside. Is he going to give him space? Oh, there you go. That's exactly what I was talking about. That's exactly what I was talking about. David Besnard makes contact. He goes for a spin, and thankfully he's got a long way behind him, but that could have been a lot worse for the silver class leader.
Yeah, got away with that fairly lightly, all things considered. And, you know, look, this is what happens. You put your feet to the fire a little bit, and, yeah, it can end badly. Thankfully, probably the one section of track where there is a decent bit of runoff. If it had gotten much worse than that, Besnard though will find a whole lot of clean air for the last couple of laps now.
Well, this is a group for 9th place again. It's really the only group left. Dan Ackland is out the back with Vorm Ryder. So we're down to 4 in this group now, but they're all catching Tom Donahue actually. Let's see what this is
So Josh
all about
Marsh.
on the way towards turn 1. Josh Marsh, okay.
Just noticed being towed to pits a moment ago, and this will be why. Big contact that loses that rear wing.
He's going through some rear wings today, that's for sure. That's at least his second that he's lopped off, and that's the end of him. So only 22 left in this race. Normally, actually, the attrition rate has been very low this season, but yeah, we've got 22 remaining at the 28 that started. That's over 20% of the field out of the race. Doesn't sound like a lot, and I guess it isn't really, but just in the context of this season, where we've seen almost everybody getting to the end of almost every race, it's just seemed like a few more, as you'd expect from Bathurst.
I suspect Bathurst is probably where most of these teams have allocated their bodywork budgets for the season. Not many other tracks are as likely to go through quite so many nose cones and side pods and rear wings as Bathurst, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's
Big lock up
definitely the
far
case.
side. Keeps it off the wall. Well
Look at
done.
that. Look who they're just behind, by the way. Tom Donahue is next in line. Daniel Byrne is probably just too far away to be caught here, but two teammates from Everything Simulated Racing are now going to be together, Donahue and Bartine, and that's going to make it even more difficult for Little now to actually overtake these guys, but it could be a top 10 on debut as they get into the chase now. Little does get through. Oh no, sorry, doesn't. Oh yes, he does. Never mind. Little does get through into ninth place using the slipstream of Tom Donahue there, so teamwork not exactly paying off there between those two.
Give it time. Bartine's going to just tuck in behind here and get the run up the first straight. And I imagine this will become a very tight three-way battle up and over the top of the mountain in not too long at all. Ben Roberts, meanwhile, out in front, looking very, very comfortable. This will no doubt be the final lap as we get up and over the mountain. Of course, iRacing still having issues with pushing white flag information for timed races, I'm afraid, folks. So you'll just have to trust me. We're about to see the checkered flag with Ben Roberts. Ocean Colangelo 5 seconds behind now, 4 seconds further back for Kane Ryder. Terry Nightingale Jr. on debut in 4th quite comfortably over Thomas Hinds. So a really good showing for the Turbo Brothers Racing entry there, the 999 of Nightingale Jr.
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see how he gets on for the remainder of this season. If indeed they come back again, which hopefully they do for the rest of the second half of this campaign. This is the group from 7th place on backwards again. They're going to have quite the race to the line, that is for sure. But yeah, further up front, Benjamin Roberts will take the victory in the next couple of moments. Absolute domination from him here today. And it's another victory. Another victory, only not won one race this season, although this time is the first time he's been not on the pole position since that race, those two races at Phillip Island, taking 2 poles in a row last week at Okayama. But it's pole and victory, or not pole, but victory I should say, for Benjamin Roberts as he crosses the line with 45 minutes gone. He weaves himself over the line. I think the checkered flag will be seen, as yes, it will indeed come out now. Benjamin Roberts takes the victory. He will continue his absolute domination over the Everything Simulated F4 Championship this season, as meantime it's side by side further back as Dylan Little gets past Tom Donahue as well. He's overtaken both of the Everything Simulated racing drivers in the last 2 laps, and he will finish in 8th.
Fantastic drive from Turbo Brothers Racing. Both Nightingale and Little into the top 10 in the first race as they come across that famous starting line. What a drive. Just big lock up as they don't want to come together at the end of the race. I'm pretty sure there are still penalties that will apply for that.
Well, they very nearly did. Von Ryder only just beat Heppel to the line as well, by the way. 38 thousandths of a second between those two. The only change here as well that could happen, Top Parks versus Angus Milne into the chase for the final time here. This is that battle, and Milne just gets himself in front of Top Parks now. On the way towards the final corner. Parks third in the Silverclass Championship, going to be losing a little bit of ground here today as Besnard really gains it. Watson finishing down in 26th, but 20 places further up, Besnard maybe putting himself into that championship picture.
I think James Ampus, the finishing result, not actually particularly aligned to just how well we did see him drive for a lot of today's racing. So he'll be a little disappointed with that, I'm sure. William Fraser coming home now as the last driver on track. Has had a less than fun day along with a number of others, but he can hold his head high that he's actually made it to the finish, which cannot be said for everyone here tonight at Bathurst.
No, absolutely. It's been one of the higher attrition races that we've seen in this season so far. But always expected from Mount Panorama, that is for sure, as we have a look at the race results after tonight's event at Bathurst. It's Benjamin Roberts who wins and takes the full 100 points again, ahead of Oisin Colangelo by 5 seconds. Kane Ryder finishing on the podium as well, and we'll chat to those three in a moment. Tony Nightingale Jr. and Thomas Hiddens round out the top 5, with David Besnard winning the silver class a long way ahead of anybody else. Daniel Byrne, Dylan Little on debut finishes 8th, ahead of Tom Donahue and Everything Simulated Racing teammate Scott Bartine to round out the top 10. Richard Banerjee is then 11th, ahead of Seth Burkhardt, with Dan Ackland born rider Mark Heppel on debut finishes in 15th. Mitchell Halfway is second in the silver class, ahead of Tristan McLaren, who is 3rd, and will gain points on Alexi Watson. Randy McGee finishes in 18th place, Tano Angus Milne and Todd Parks, who rounds out the top 20. James Antris wins the race between two to be confirmed drivers in their classes. This is the last driver on the lead lap as well, ahead of William Fraser, 1 down. Matthew Vince didn't get to the end, and neither did Josh Marsh, Wiley Blair, Alexi Watson, Dylan DeRollo and Mark Hilly, all of whom didn't get to the finish of tonight's race. Let's have a chat then to Benjamin Roberts, who takes the win overall once again here tonight, and congratulations, Benjamin, on another victory. Your second feature race victory in just 2 feature races that we've had now as well, but it wasn't as simple. In the first stint, it was a big battle there, and how did you sort of think about how you could get yourself away from those guys? Because clearly you were quicker than them, as it turned out in the end. It was just a case of finding a way past. How were you thinking about managing that over the course of tonight?
Yeah, I think the important thing for me was saving the car a little bit, tiny bit of fuel, conserving the tyres a little bit at the start, and then undercutting by a lap. I know I practiced a pit entry, so I know I was strong there, and also knew I had a little bit of pace on everyone else if I could get clean air. So yeah, that was really the point of that first stop, and just getting clean air like I have in all the other races pretty much.
And how are you feeling about your championship situation now? It's 50 points coming into today. It will be about 60 now over Oisin Colangelo. But to be fair to the both of you, you're staying very, very close this season. No matter what, really, where either of you finish, it is very close. How are you feeling about conserving that championship lead in the last 3 rounds, given the dominance you've shown this season?
Yeah, I guess with the drop round, it's not as stressful as it would be otherwise. I know, Fuji generally have not been so great, but again with that drop round, it's actually another little buffer that helps to not stress about it too much.
Well, thanks very much for coming to have a chat with us as always, Benjamin. Is there anybody you'd like to shout out before we let you go or anything?
Yeah, just big thanks to the team, DPR Racing and all our sponsors, NB Designs, Southwell Wolfson Hoist, Ben Max Mechanical, Mini Muscle Cars and High Performance Media.
Thanks again for chatting to us. Congrats on the win tonight again.
Thanks very much.
So much, Benjamin Roberts, the winner here tonight from Bathurst, ahead of Oisin Colangelo, who finishes in second place. Oisin, welcome in and congratulations on another podium finish here tonight. It's just the most recent time you're off the podium was race 1 of the whole season, so you must be pleased to be getting this run together, but of course it's the same driver ahead of you for the second week in a row here today.
Yep, just aim to keep getting second place, which obviously I'm happy about, but would be nice to get a win. I'm just completely confused on how Ben can gain so much time in the pits.
Yeah, it was a bit of a puzzling one actually. Both pit stops I think were just a little bit shorter, but having spoken to us, I think the thing he mentioned was fuel saving more than anything else, especially in that first part of the race. Was there anything else that you could have done maybe to sort of stay with him anymore in that race, or were those that pit strategy was just those pit stops were just too short for you to really compete with?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it just depended what I guess we did would have affected what he did, and obviously we don't know what he's gonna do, so don't think we can really work around it, the pit stop. But yeah, I'm just confused how he gained more than a second in the first one and gained like another 2.5 seconds in the next one.
Well, yeah, still a second place finish for you tonight, so congratulations on another good finish at least, and we'll of course see you next week once again.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. That is Oisin Colangelo, second place here today at Bathurst, ahead of Kane Ryder, who finishes in the third position. Kane, welcome in. Good to have you with us. Third place for you here today, and a double podium for Team Max Boost as well. How are you feeling at the end of that race?
Yeah, I think that's the maximum I could have done. So, like, Ben's just super rapid, and I don't know what he's doing in these pit stops, but he's certainly find a bit of time on us, so...
So did definitely put you behind a little bit. The team standings actually not something we've spoken about very much on the broadcast this season, but it's worth mentioning that Team Max Boost are leading the way by quite some distance in the team standings as well. And your presence in qualifying, I couldn't help but notice as well. All of the drivers running around together as well. Just how helpful is it to have such a big representation in this field here this season?
Look, it's huge for the open quali, and our aim was just to get OC on the front row. We did that, and then I was just trying to sneak in front of Ben to try and make his life a little bit more difficult. But yeah, no, it's a big advantage that we've got, that's for sure, for the open quali.
Well, congratulations on a double podium for the team here today. Third place for yourself, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Thanks so much. That is Kane Ryder, third place overall. And we'll go only a few positions further back actually to the silver class winner, and David Besnard, who can now join us as well. David, welcome in. Congratulations on silver class victory here tonight from Bathurst. But I've got to chat to you about that battle towards the end of the race with Thomas Hinds that you had there. I was questioning the sense of it, of battling so late on when you had the silver class victory basically in your hands. What was the thinking there, battling over that fifth position as you were? Hello, David, can you hear us?
Sorry, you got me?
Oh, yeah, we have, yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Yeah, it's tough out there. The thinking was I wanted to gain another position because we're racing, and I like to try and get as far up as I can, whether I've got an S or a G next to my name.
It's fair enough. That's what Jared said as well. But there you go. That's just me. How you feel about the rest of this season? You will have definitely put yourself into silver class championship contention at the end of tonight. You were 97 points behind coming in today, but with Watson finishing 26th and you finishing in 6th, you will have gained a lot of points out of it. So how are you feeling about your chances of getting up to the silver class title? Is that something you're aiming for maybe this season?
Oh, look, to be honest, I missed the first couple of rounds. I don't know the rest of the tracks that well. I'm a bit of a, maybe not just Bathurst specialist, but there's a few tracks I'll go all right at, so it'll be tough. But hey, I'll put the laps in and try my best.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing it starting next week, of course, at Fuji. Thanks for chatting to us, David, and congratulations on the silver class win tonight.
No worries, thank you, and thanks to FDL for running an awesome show. Thank you.
Thanks so much. That is David Besnard, the silver class winner here at the end of tonight. Let's have a look at the championship standings. Of course, this is very provisional, as always, but it's great to get a flavour of what it's going to look like. 59 points will be the gap between Roberts and Colangelo at the end of this round, with exactly 150 points back to Kane Ryder as well. It's a two-horse race, but rapidly turning into a one-horse race, with Bentley Roberts leading the way. Alexi Watson is in 10th place overall, still in the silver class, but we'll have a championship lead that is slashed. 35 points, the gap back to Tristan McLaren. David Bernard, 47 points back. Todd Parks, only 5 points further back, just over 50 back. So Watson had a 50-point gap before, and now there's 3 drivers within 50 points in the Silver Class Championship. I think that's the point of real interest we're going to have here, Jared, in the rest of this season. Not necessarily for the overall championship, unfortunately, but the Silver Class one is definitely going to be a really one to watch this season.
Yeah, very keen to see how this pans out after drop rounds, because obviously on the provisional results there's been a huge amount of movement, and really can show just the impact of one really shocker of a race, particularly for Leclerc Watson. It doesn't look like a lot of movement, but when you consider how many points there were between positions as you got down into the second half of that top 20, to drop back a couple of positions there is going to have a huge impact. We'll be very grateful, of course, for the drop round, but then you've got to consider what it does to the other rounds that have been potentially drop rounds prior to that. Look, it's a good view of it, and it certainly starts to be incredibly meaningful as you get to the last rounds of the season, where you can be pretty confident that the drop rounds are all accounted for earlier on. But I don't think we're done with the Silver Championship just yet. I'll be very keen to see where it all sort of pans out next week.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be very interesting indeed, and the sprint rounds really do take on a real big importance in this championship season because of the amount of points that they offer, 150 maximum per night. So it's a big one, and the latest of them, the next of them rather, is coming up next week in 7 days' time. We will be live from Fuji for the next sprint race, and Winton will take on the last sprint race of the season. 2 more to go until the end of the FDL Everything Simulated F4 Championship here, supported by Player One Sim Gear as well. Of course, this series also sponsored by Capstone Marketing and Print Racer, and big thanks to all of the sponsors who make these broadcasts and indeed this league possible in the F4 Championship on Thursday nights. It's been great to be back once again. A big thanks as well to everybody who's been tuned in tonight. I've been Neil O'Leary alongside Jared Cole. We'll be back in 7 days' time for the penultimate sprint round of the season from Fuji. But from all of us here from the mountain, it's goodbye for now.